What's going on, hustlers? Back at you guys with another video. We have a very special video for you, and it's a special video because we have a very, very special guest. My name is Cantave. Welcome back to the Namyad channel. As always, you can reach out to me via Instagram or on LinkedIn. And if you're looking for some DLA coaching or mentorship, please check the pinned comment below. But without further ado, we are going to talk to Mr. Richard Jones, the CEO, president, founder of 305 Aero Supplies, and he is going to talk about his journey to making $500,000 in the government contracting space in product sales with DLA and something very, very niche that nobody else in the industry is talking about. So without further ado, Richard, please give us a little bit about yourself, kind of how you got into the space, and kind of what you're doing now.
All righty, yes. Thanks for having me, Dave. Always a pleasure when I can connect with you. I know our schedules are so busy nowadays, but to be quite honest, like I said, I've been a part of the federal government since I became an adult on paper. I actually joined the Army at 17 and turned 18 in basic training in Fort Jackson, South Carolina. Did my time in the military, got out, went into the National Guard for a little bit while I was in university, and then life changes caused me to start working overseas as a government DoD contractor, and just doing aviation maintenance is where I started out, and then got into like engineering technology, did some field support work, logistical stuff, and then just like everybody else, while I was overseas, one day the movie War Dogs popped out, and I watched it, and I was like, wait a minute, this is similar to what I'm doing. And I started looking into it, went on
And you
YouTube.
had a different perspective because you were on the other side of it. A lot of people
Right.
watch War Dogs and then they're like, oh, I can get into this and do what these guys did. But you're like, I'm the guy that's using the stuff that these guys are selling.
Yep, I was the end user. So I
Yeah,
was the
you were
end
the end
user.
user. You were
So
the
I was
end
like, wait a
user.
minute,
That's a
if I'm the
bar.
end
That's a
user, I want to
bar.
kind of flip that script once I saw how lucrative being the front supplier would be. So I started looking into it, Google, YouTube, rabbit hole, found consultants, found other people in the industry. Eric Coffey actually was the first consultant I started watching. Then I
Shout out
found,
Eric. He's a
yeah, shout out
really
to Eric
great guy. He
Coffey.
does he does a lot for the space. Go check out his channel. I'm sure Richard will end up on his channel in the coming weeks. I'm telling you, you guys better pay attention because you guys are gonna see this guy's face a lot more. The same
Y'all
way
better
I
get used to me.
bust onto the scene, Richard's gonna bust on the scene. So pay attention.
Y'all better get used to me. Y'all better get used to me now. But yeah, so Eric Coffey, and plan on trying to get on his channel a little bit later this year. And then I already told him last year when we talked that I'm going to be at that event and have a booth and be a sponsor this year right here down in October. And then I found, when it came to DLA, I found Michelle Brown. She was the first person that I discovered that was talking about dibs. And I was like, what is dibs? And actually, that's really what War Dogs really were doing. That's, the DLA. And
Yeah, product sales. People
yes.
see the different disconnect is people hear War Dogs government contracting, but a lot of the information that's out there is on services.
Yep.
A lot of people don't really talk about product sales. It's really just me, Michelle Brown, and then a couple other people
And
like
just a
working
couple other
on that.
people. And just listening to her, and I was like, this might be the lowest entry point, because to be quite transparent, I thought about, it was a group when we were working in Dubai, the United Arab Emirates, and it was a group of us, and we were like, hey, we should start a service-based contracting, as far as doing aviation maintenance. I had a team of, avionics, pilots, mechanics, inspectors. And I was like, we can start our own thing and just do our own work. But we realized that was quite expensive, with the
Yeah.
insurance and the stuff. And I was like, oh, it's going to take millions of dollars to get that off the ground. So I was like, okay, DLA I was like, this is more realistic. And I can start just kind of by myself and just, pivoted after working overseas. I was like, okay, it's time. In order to start, so I'm going to have to come back to America. I can't do that in the
Gotcha.
desert. So I came back to America, actually ended up in Miami where I'm at now, and started working, and then started like working on the business, started the LLC, and just, I'm going to let you
Yeah,
ask some more
Bill.
questions. I don't want to get a whole story up in one.
Okay. Well, I mean, the
But
first, you kind of already answered the first one, which is kind of how did you get into government contracting? But talk to us a little bit about kind of like what aspect of, DLA you're in. You don't have to give people like the exact niche. You can kind of just give like a broad answer and then talk to us a little bit about, kind of your journey all the way up until the point where you like prior to meeting me.
yes.
Walk us all the way through that.
Yeah. So when I started, my first contract was 2 bolts. Uh, and when I first entered the
And
space,
how much was it for? Do you remember?
yes, $794.
Oh, damn, that's dude, yours first one was bigger than ours, and those bolts were expensive. Damn, I was
Exactly.
getting ready to get on my high horse and be like, see guys, we all started small, but nah, Richard was getting after it.
Yeah, we what it was they were it's just to give a caveat, like I said, because I took Michelle's course. I connected with her, took her course, and one of the when in her course, one of the products I saw it was like some bolts, and I went on Dibs and looked it up. And I was
Hmm.
like, man, this is still on Dibs. So I, reverse sourced it. I found the supplier, and then of course the manufacturer was like, well, we sell through distributorship, and I know a lot of people probably get that. So
Hmm.
give me a list of your distributors, and found someone that would sell to us, and kind of just threw the bid blindly and got the award, got the traceability and all that stuff. And so we started off like in hardware, and
Hmm.
at one point in time we're all over the place. So I was just,
Yeah.
you go down a Dibs rabbit hole, you're just looking at everything and you're trying
Yeah,
to
you're just trying to get your foot in the door. You don't really have a niche. You don't have a product market. You're just like
yes,
throwing stuff at the wall and then
just
seeing like
throwing
what's
everything
gonna.
that's and hoping something sticks.
Yeah.
And then I was like, hold on, let me just try to kind of get this thing under control, because I was spending too much time on Dibs. And if you remember, some people remember when we did the paddle on Eric Coffey's channel with you, I told people I got off of Dibs. And what I mean by that, someone else hit me up on LinkedIn and were like, what do you mean by that? What I mean by that is, after weeks and months of just looking at everything and trying to bid everything and losing and getting that dreaded unsuccessful offer
Yeah.
email, you know what
Unacceptable.
I'm
Your
talking
offer
about.
was unsuccessful.
Yes. Yeah. So after getting that a few times, I get tired of that. I'm really competitive, and I'm like, I got to figure this out. So I was like, let me start at what I have experience in. My first trade in high school, I was a welder day. So
Okay. I did not
industrial.
know that. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a very good trade to get in. They welders get paid very handsomely.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I was really close to becoming one. But I was like, okay, let me look at the industrial welding products. Like, I sold some face shields and other things like that. And
Really?
then,
You did
yes,
that? Wow.
yes,
Okay.
yes,
That's a very I've looked at that product market with a couple clients. Guys, that's high ticket stuff right there.
yes,
Like, and you're selling not like, I mean, I'm sure you know better than I do, but I'm sure you're selling stuff that's not too many units, right? Like you're
yes,
probably selling stuff that's like, I don't know, what's the ballpark average unit size? Like no more than 20 units per
yes,
contract, right? And that
yes.
stuff is it's not cheap. It's probably what, a couple $100 a unit of whatever you're selling, whether that be protective like PPE or tools or something like that. So that's a good news. Richard just gave you guys a gem. I give you guys free. Richard just told you guys that he just
Way
gave
to
you a
look at.
gem. He just gave you a gem.
Yes, I tell people anytime people contact me, and I'm sure you get it, start small. Everybody, like, stop thinking about the multi-million-dollar contract that you see that Lockheed Martin got. You're not going to get that, if you're new to this space. Start small. I came up with a theory. I was like, the government is like a crumbs theory, where they throw a few crumbs. Because, like, I know one contract we got, and it was literally like the smallest contract we got was like $8. And I can't remember what the product was. I'd have to look in our accounting software, but I was like, there's no way they can justify that they only need one of these. And so my philosophy is, they want to see who's willing to do the work and who's willing to go after, do the grunt work. And
Gems, pay
yes,
attention. They want to see if you're, willing and able to go through the process, because it is a process of fulfilling and shipping. And the cool thing about it is, eventually, like you said, they do give you crumbs, but then once they start giving you bigger pieces of bread, the bidding process, the sourcing process for something that's $100,000 is the same as something that's $8, right? So once you kind of build that past performance, and then you're able to get your foot in the door, and you again, build your relationship with the government, they will start to throw you guys, bigger pieces of bread.
exactly. And then sometimes the little small ones, they'll come back to you and put you on an IDIQ, or give you an IFB invitation. That's what they call a no bid contract. Everybody talk about no bid. That's a real one, an IFB, where they're like, hey, give us your price. And then next thing you know, they're sending you the
You're
person.
giving too much. People got to pay you to figure out what that is. I don't even tell people about that for
All right, well,
free.
let me stop, because I don't put
We're
us out.
like 5 minutes in, and Richard's giving y'all so much free
Yeah,
stuff. I hope y'all taking notes. I hope y'all are paying attention. His email is gonna be down below, so you guys better be taking some notes. So okay, so you found the bolts, and then you were doing welding gear. And then kind of what happened? Because I know once we met, you already had a couple underneath your belt. So
yeah.
how did that process come about?
So to expand on that day, so we, like I did not just welding, because I don't want people to get like, 'cause some people get tunnel business. Oh, I got to sell welding price. Industrial. So I tell people, whatever product niche your marketplace you're going in, look at the other products. So it's, you do have what they call welding supplies, but that's industrial. Also, I was aviation. So I looked at two aviation products. Now I like day as a pilot, y'all. I'm an avionics at trade. That's my original trade, avionics. That's what I joined Army as. So I started looking at avionics components, uh, knobs, switches, electronic components.
Those things are expensive, and each one is going to be unique. Like if you
Yep.
have a GTN 650, like a Garmin 650, which is like what we use for our navigation radios and our training planes, each knob has a very specific thing. They turn a very specific way. They're calibrated to a very specific size. And then a GTN 650 is going to be different than a Garmin 530. And then I'm sure like there's different components that go into PFDs versus
Yep.
MFD. So your primary flight display versus your
All right.
multifunction display. There's a lot of like unique intricacies about that. So there's, a whole bunch of different parts that go into that, which is a good industry to get into.
Yep, and that's what we did. And so when we did that, and then it was like, okay, let's look at some of the consumer electronics. So we went down that route too, and that expanded and brought it our product space. Now, when I found you, Damon, we had 33 contracts, and we were just a little bit over 100K in sales. When I actually stumbled across you, watching you on Eric Coffey's channel, and like I said, I'm gonna be quite transparent for everybody out here, and we'll get to this later, but just a quick nugget. What gravitated me personally to Damon was Damon kept it real on that podcast, and he showed his cage code. So anybody that's thinking about working with, there's a lot of gurus out here. That cage code doesn't matter, So if someone's willing to show the
Men lie,
company,
women
yeah,
lie,
yeah,
numbers
numbers do
don't.
not lie.
Check the
Numbers
stats. It's taxpayer
take the
dollars.
stats.
You guys can see everything that I've done.
Yep,
8 Bravo, Papa Echo 2. You could
yep.
you could look us up. Men lie, women lie,
Numbers don't
numbers
lie.
don't.
Numbers don't lie. So that's where we were at when I found you, Damon. We were at 33 awards and just over 100K.
Awesome, awesome. All right, so Richard was at 33 awards, right? And he had done just over 100K. So now the reason why people are going to click on this video, because the reason why it's going to be titled what has changed? Where are you at now? What have you done in total revenue? What's the overall, number of contracts since then? What's pre-Namyad, and then what's post-Namyad? Where's Richard and 305 Air Supplies at now? Tell us the
Okay.
number.
So
Ballpark.
yeah, so I'm gonna tell you, we're over 500,000. And we're gonna,
Half a mil. He
yep,
went to half a mil. And that
yep,
was less than a year ago. That was literally
yes,
less than a
yes,
year. He went from 100K to half a mil in less than a year. $500,000.
yes.
Half a mil. And how many awards?
We were at 33 when we found you, and we're at 88 right now.
Over 50 awards and $500,000. Now, also, Richard, tell them a little bit about, what's very unique with you and kind of what you do that I don't even know how to do in terms of the product sales and kind of the people that you do business with as well.
Yes. So with us, I knew, from just working it, and I was having my struggles getting, because a lot of times, and I'm sure you get this a lot of time, Damon, I get this a lot. I can't find nobody to work with. I can't find manufacturers. So what we did, I said, okay, I got to pivot this. Let me find who will do business with me. And once I was able to find out who would do business with me, then I was like, let me find a way to do more business. And one of the thing about me is I know that it's sales. This isn't a side hustle. I just didn't want to do business with the DLA. Like we've done business with NASA. We have a NASA contract, and knock
Mhm.
on wood, next week I should have a VA contract and finally break into that and use that SDB.
Knock on wood, knock on
Yeah.
wood.
But my niche was gov commerce with ecom, GovCon with ecom. So that's
GovCon with Econ. He's trademarking it. It's his. Nobody else has ever said it. Nobody
don't
else has
steal
ever done it.
that.
He
Don't
birthed
steal
it.
that. Don't
Trademark
steal
of
that.
Richard Jones. Trademark of 305 Era Supplies.
Yep.
What is GovCon with Ecom?
So what that is, GovCon ecom is, I found out just doing research that the government purchases on marketplaces like Amazon, Walmart. Someone told me the other one. I can't think of the name right now, but they purchase from the place like that. But I know for sure they purchase on Amazon. Amazon is the biggest one. Everybody knows Amazon. And what got me to go to the Amazon, because we have a commercial side, and with I was watching like Amazon Wholesale and FBA and private label, and I was like, this kind of translates similar to DLA. So if you watch any Amazon content, they're gonna start with arbitrage, retail or online arbitrage. That most people that start in DLA, that's not an established business, that's ground up like us, they're going to start with the arbitrage route. You're just
That's
trying to
yeah,
get,
essentially that's what it is. And
yeah,
for those of you guys who are unfamiliar, arbitraging, it's literal definition is taking something like a product or a service from one market and then taking it and bringing it to another market, and then the difference in the value between those two markets as you conduct that transaction, that's your profit. So really taking something that somebody is selling from one place, finding out somebody has a need for it, marking it up, and then selling it
yeah.
elsewhere. That is just what arbitrage is. It's a fancy word, but it's quite simple.
Exactly. You're just skimming the markets. So, we started that, and that's how we started with the DLA. And then the next thing was the wholesale model, which is what we're doing now with the DLA and what we're doing in our Amazon commercial side, where we're buying in bulk from large. We got manufacturing partnerships. I'll say a few of them. We got a federal partnership with Dell. We got a partnership with Samsung, Eaton. We just got a partnership with them last week.
Oh, that's major. Yeah,
Yeah,
we've done some stuff with them. Eaton's a great company.
they are a great company, and we sell a lot of their stuff commercially as well as to the government. So, we got those partnerships, and we're able to buy in bulk, sell in bulk, and we're getting bigger orders from the government. And then the next level where we're getting now, we just started. I've got a couple of manufacturers that have signed some paperwork, get to work with, and that would be your private label. So the private label transition is the tech doc. If you're getting stuff,
Yeah,
that's
okay. I
yeah,
was not familiar. He's giving you guys free game. So private label stuff with
Amazon.
Amazon, that's essentially getting your stuff with tech docs and then having manufacturers make that stuff on your behalf. So he literally just gave you the method. He just literally gave you the method, told you how to scale your business and how to do it with Amazon. Now, before you break down that anymore, could you talk to us a little bit about where your team was, kind of the state of your office, prior to working with me, and then kind of what's changed now? Let's kind of paint the picture for kind of the growth that 305 Aero Supplies has had.
So when I found you, Damon, I was still working. This was my office right here.
He was
I,
working
I
from home. He started out just like all you guys working from home. And where are you
First of
now?
all, this was my office right here. It's off camera, but right to the right, I got two sets of shelving, and that was our pretty much our logistics area. Got a file cabinet here. It was me, one other person, and some 1099 independent contractors, virtual assistants, whatever you want to call them. I have three people on W-2 plus me, which makes four. Four of us on payroll, W-2 actual real employees. We getting ERC credits and stuff, and I still have like another four 1099 contractors, and we're going to be hiring more people. So if you're not ready to do it on your own yet, we will be bringing more people on in the future. We're looking probably like the summertime to kind of put out some more job recs and bring some more
Awesome,
people.
awesome. And then what
And
changed with the office? Is there
got
is
a
there a
got an office,
change now?
got a warehouse, got an office warehouse. So we actually on the Air Coffee thing, on the Air Coffee panel, we talked about how I had my company that package my partner with to do my packaging, and they were actually only doing my commercial Amazon side. They were only doing FBA prep. That's how I found them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I was like, hey, have y'all ever thought about doing military packaging? They didn't know what that is. They knew how to pack, but they didn't know. So that was a plus for me. And the reason why, like I said in that panel, I didn't want to use those competitors up in Fort Lauderdale,
Yeah.
other mil
So
spec
you
companies.
essentially taught them how to do meal pack?
Absolutely.
Bro,
Absolutely.
he just gave you guys the game. Everybody's tripping about packaging. I did not even know that that was a thing. Everybody freaks out and they're like, oh, packaging. Now, listen, I think I'm a strong proponent of doing it yourself because it's good to learn. And then obviously in your case, Richard, you did learn it yourself so that way you could teach
Yes.
them. But for those of you guys that are freaking out about packaging, find an Amazon company, learn how to do it. I'll teach you how to do it. Maybe even Richard will teach you how to do it, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And then go teach an Amazon packing company. He just gave you guys a solution on how to get around the whole packaging thing. Richard literally just gave you guys so much free
And
game.
and let me give some advertisement for myself too. So with our partnership, they actually had a nice warehouse, 4,500 square foot warehouse. We're near the Miami airport. So I said, hey, I'm going to they had an extra office. So I was like, let me get that office. So doing business, I said, we are starting a partnership. So I took that office. So now the office is at the warehouse. So if we got DCMA or anybody want to come out, they can come down to the office. It's one of our packaging location shipping points, as they say in the VSM. And on top of that, another business that we're introducing, we're going to start advertising is so my company, we handle the mil spec packaging side. So if anybody needs mil spec packaging services, we're going to be offering that service, and we're going to be a lot more
That's
affordable.
too much free game.
Yeah.
305 Aero Supplies will do your
Yes.
milk pack packaging. People ask me of other companies. I don't like to recommend them because I know the other ones, but they're not ethical. They charge exorbitant amounts.
Yes.
But Richard will do your packaging for you guys. So he just gave you the method on where to go if you want to teach a company to do it, and hit up Richard 305 Aero Supplies. And what's your cage code, by the way, so they can look you guys up?
97 Papa Charlie 9. 97.
97 Papa Charlie 9. I'm gonna put that in the description so you guys can reach out to him. 305 Air Supplies will also meet your packaging needs. I didn't even know that you guys were doing that. So just to kind of recap, in less than a year, I mean, I think you started working with Namyat in like what? Like it was around like
Yeah, it was.
September-ish, like
Yes.
September, like August, September-ish, right? So
Yep.
we're in April now. So what is that? August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April. So we're in April. So in 9 months,
Yep.
Richard went from 100K to 500K after working with us. It went from 33 awards to 83 awards, so another 50 awards. And he's got an office, and he went from 2 people to a team of 8 people. So if you want to talk about growth, in 9 months, he quadrupled his team. He 5x'd his revenue, and then he nearly tripled the amount of awards that he was getting after working with Namyat. And I could sit here and be like, oh, Namyat's great, et cetera, et cetera. But commend, like, let's take a moment to commend Richard, give Richard his flowers, because you could give people information, talk to your blue in the face, but it takes a special kind of person to be able to go and implement that and then not only find success, but then scale it and create a team. And now he is helping other people put food on the table. They're not all 1099 they're W-2s, like salary people. Like
Yeah. So we
he's
got to pay them.
making payroll and helping people put food on the table. And that takes like a special kind of human being to do. And you're also you're a leader, like you're running an entire team. You're running a company. It's not a team, it's a company
Exactly.
at
Exactly.
this point.
Never thought I'd be a
You built a
CEO.
company.
That's exactly what it is. Exactly what it is.
He's built a company. So I mean, congrats to you, man, because a lot we worked with over 100 companies, and a lot of people find success in the space. But I mean, to do what you did to 5x your revenue, we can tell you how to do it, talk to we're blue in the face, but for you to take those teachings and put that stuff into action, that's a really commendable
So
thing.
I told you why I came to you, and scalability was one of the things. Two things. Originally, I said new surplus and scalability. And I remember that night actually coming up to the office, and you don't realize that you just coming up to the office to do some training, but just seeing that, seeing everybody's office, seeing your mother's office, seeing your father's office, seeing your office, seeing the bullpen, seeing the packaging. I was like, that to me, this is what I need to be. This is where I want. And now I'm telling you, like that little bit of motivation, seeing someone that, done it and, proven, I was like, this is possible. And,
Awesome, awesome. This is why we're doing
yep.
these podcasts, so that way people can see that it's possible. Because a lot of people, they just don't know it. You tell somebody government contract, and they're like, "What? What are you talking
But,
about?" And then
yep.
they're like, "Oh, I SAM.gov service based." But there's so much more to the industry. We spend so much money, government wise. We spend more than the next 10 countries do combined on defense spending. And you don't even just do defense; you do stuff outside of that
Got it.
as well. It's just a super, super big pie. And a lot of people don't know about it. So I'm really, really happy that, now we're starting to expose people to it. So I guess my next question for you is, what would you say were some of the most important things that you learned kind of as you went through that transition period with kind of scaling your company, and then kind of just overall the whole process of, filing your LLC all the way to where you are now? What would you say are some of the most important things you've learned?
Well, like I said, the one of the most important things is, you know, I tell people when they contact me, you want to get a mentor. Like you want to get a mentor because you want someone that's done the journey. Um, that's very important. And then you got to be very resourceful. You got to be very informative. It's gonna be some long nights, because a lot of people contact me. And the first thing they say is, I don't work for nobody. That's my why. And I'm like, it's got to be bigger than that. Because I say you're gonna be working for yourself and for your company, and it's gonna be a lot longer than that little 8 hours you put in a day, every day. So, and just it's I mean, we've learned so many things. Like the process, like I've learned so much, but from when I started working with you to now, it's I mean, it's a whole 180 of how much more. And I thought I knew a lot when I came. I'm like, I got 33 contracts. Just tell me how to, hire some people and scale this thing, right? But it's so much more happening. Like, you got people, like you said, actually dependent on you. Like,
Yeah.
So it's added pressure, like I could have just stayed me and my other person and a couple of 1099s. Because the 1099s, like I said, with 1099s, you got leeway because you don't have to guarantee them work. Hey, it's nothing right now.
Yeah.
But when you got employees, you got to be in there. And just one of the things from the panel I learned from your mother when she said when when you guys were talking about how the guy that did your packaging walked out on y'all, and how that kind of, I think y'all were on a vacation or something like
Yeah, we
that.
were on
So
vacation. We were in Morocco, and then we get an email, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm
he
resigning."
did. Yeah, and like me, so I was like, I wanted to make sure everybody understand each process. Know what their role is, and make sure it's my job to make sure they understand their role and to double check twice, and just to keep this thing running like an industrial. Like we've changed. I've even changed like my CRM software. We're using Monday.com now. The way we do management with vendors, the way we kind of contact, build those relationships. It's a lot. I'm not going to give all that up because some of the stuff is,
Yeah, it's
you got to
proprietary. It's
package. It's
proprietary.
proprietary,
It's
but
proprietary, and you got to get in with me or Richard if you want like the whole
if
method.
you
But
want,
he
if
just
you
gave
really
y'all
want to
another
see
gem.
about it,
Monday.com as another CRM. I'm a big fan of Zoho,
yep,
which I believe you're familiar with. That was what we were using at the time, and that was what I recommended to you. And then Salesforce as well. But he just gave you guys another one. That's another gem right there.
yeah,
Monday.com as another CRM. And then he's really talking about, the importance of cross training as well when you're scaling, right? Especially
yes,
in this kind of industry, right? There's a lot of moving pieces. There's a lot of
yeah,
stuff that goes on from the time that you even look at the solicitation all the way to, the fulfillment of it. There's
yeah.
so many processes that are in place. Making sure that you understand the entire process and then making sure your people are cross-trained is a big one.
Exactly, and just like just that whole the procurement pipeline process. It's very detailed, and if you miss one step, you can throw everything out of whack. And then
Was
when yes.
was there anything that you were like, okay, I had no idea that this was like a thing that I needed to, be aware of, and then you're like, okay, I actually have to really dial this in to be successful?
So I had a few things like that. Just for me, uh, as far as like the DLA process using DIBs, that stuff was, uh, that I could do that in my sleep just because I've been dealing with the government. But really, so me, just make sure my employees understood it because I remember one of my employees got a traceability and didn't say anything. And,
Not understanding the value of like
not
how important that
understanding,
is.
not understanding because I don't know. And I was going to actually have a session with you to talk about that because I was like, when as a super user, I could see their quotes, I could see, and fact check on that. But
And for those who are unfamiliar, what's a super user?
so the super user is pretty much the ultimate user for the DLA. So for every company is going to have every organization has to have a super user. So you go in there, you can kind of add or remove, review. That's what it
So
is.
you're essentially the person that like created the account, right, with
Yes.
Dibs, and then you can add other accounts, and then you're essentially like the boss of your kind of process.
Yep. And also that's, yeah, and the QA. You do the quality assurance because you know if one of your staff put in a bid and you don't check that as a super user, you know they
You could be in a lot of trouble. You could be in a lot of trouble because you're either end up winning something that you're in over your head, or sometimes the government will. It's almost like the IRS. They might not catch you today. They might not let you know that you messed up today. They might let you know once you ship it. They might let you know once they receive it. They could come get you until we had something that I shipped in February of last year, and it was December, and then DLA was like, "Hey, there's an issue with this. We gotta go, like, you guys either need to send us back the proper amount of units, or you have to pay us the difference between them." And it was 9 months later. So making sure that
yeah,
your quality assurance and your processes are in place is a big one. That's a major thing. So could you kind of talk a little bit about kind of the new thing that you're bringing to the market in terms of like your teaching? Because I like to be an educator and a thought leader, but I mean, you've also got a set of skills that's very unique. And I know that you're planning on, kind of branching out and also educating people. So talk a little bit about that and how you guys are planning to kind of get into the mentorship and the consulting space.
yes. I'm glad you asked that question. It's giving us time to get some like free advertisement. But so some of my staff in their past professors were teachers, and teachers actually really translate good into this business. So just anyone out there that's thinking about, who to build for their staff. However, being on, I'm sure being on this podcast, I'm going to get a lot more people to hit me up, being on Eric Coffee, Michelle Brown. So my LinkedIn, the business people call the phone up, and I was like, you know what, I guess I got to turn to a de facto consultant, because I was like, I can't talk to everybody. I would like to, but it's an opportunity cost with my time, and I can't
Yeah,
take more
yeah.
than it.
So if you guys are also looking to get into kind of the Amazon ecom or GovCon ecom space, reach out to Richard and 305 Air Supplies. And sometimes people ask me like, "Oh, aren't you worried about like creating competition for yourself when you teach people how to do this stuff?" Or, "Oh, aren't you worried about creating competition for yourself when you work with other consultants?" The pie is so big, DLA spent $270 billion last year. 1% of that pie is $2.7 billion. A tenth of a percent is $270 billion. A hundredth of a percent is $27 million. A thousandth of that percent is $2.7 million. If you're making $2.7 million a year, your life is pretty damn good. So because the pie is so big, I have no issue kind of exposing you guys to other alternative routes to do business with the government. My job is to make sure that you guys have the most information made available to you, and that you guys are aware of the different ways you can do business with the government. And then also to steer you guys in the right direction with good people to work with. Richard is a very ethical guy, very hardworking guy. I invited him to the office, right? Like into our space. And there's only two companies that I've ever worked with out of 111 that I've ever allowed to come into the office. So that speaks, volumes about Richard, and kind of who he is as a person, and then also what he's been able to do. So my next question is, what advice would you what advice would you give to somebody who's looking to get into the DLA space and they're considering mentorship? Or I guess it's two questions, right? Two-parter for you. What advice would you give to somebody who's looking to get started with DLA? And then what would you say to somebody about the prospect of getting mentorship in the space?
So if they're and I tell everybody before you even, because I have someone contacting me, and I have people that I've worked with, and do one-on-one sessions with, and they're just not ready yet. They're telling me, "Hey, man, what's a cage code, or how do I register in SAM?" So I tell people, first thing you want to do is, when you want to get started with something, any entrepreneur journey, you want to kind of try to learn a little bit about the process. So go on YouTube on the rabbit. It's enough free stuff on YouTube to get you in the right mind frame. Also, utilize, because I did it and I'm still a part of it. So the Apex accelerators, and then also the SBDC. A lot of people need to look up the SBDC.
What is the SBDC?
That's like the Small Business Development Center, and every state has one, and it's free for small businesses. That will be where you go at to kind of get registered and do things, get in the system, get a little bit of mentorship on how to, do business with the government. Now, disclaimer, I did it. I'm gonna let everyone know they will not teach you how to win. It's a
Nobody can teach you. Nobody
nobody.
can do that except your damn self.
Exactly. My consultant, she did not even know about DLA, and she was a contracting officer. So that tells you how big the government is. She was more service based. She would award service awards, not DLA dips products. So get a foundational knowledge, and then my question: get a mentor. If you want to fast track and not waste a lot of time, get a mentor, and get a good mentor. And if you want to work with Day, I'm telling you, for DLA, I tell people, I've done this, Day. People come to my LinkedIn and they're like, "Hey, I want to buy your course and I want to do this." And I say, I got two people if you want to buy a course: Day Cantave, Namyad, or Michelle Brown, Fed Business Exchange. Those are the only two courses I'm going to recommend. I am going to be coming up with a course. My course is going to be, like I said, GovCon with Ecom, and that's going to show you the way. It's going to have DLA, how to do DLA, but it's going to be more about the e-commerce model. That way you can kind of leverage, if you don't have a warehouse, if you don't have a large staff, you can kind of leverage software and leverage the big companies to kind of get started and get streamlined. So it's going to be more of a COT strategy, and then you can grow upon it, to get to tech docs, and probably, because with tech docs, everybody knows that stuff takes a long time to get first article testing, to get paid, get it manufactured, get it made. And most small businesses don't have the resources to wait to get paid. But you definitely, like, I got a mentor. I started with, I got two mentors, I Damon and Michelle, and I still and I still consult with them, and I still use the SBDC, to make sure, like my STBDC, she made sure I was, down here in South Florida, I had to have my local business tax receipt. I had to have my resale certificate. All my employees, when I just hired, when I hired all my employees earlier this year to make sure I, had all my employment compliance, she taught me that stuff and I didn't have to pay for that stuff. Michelle gave me the daily foundation of knowledge to start winning. I won very fast with her. I found Day when I was ready to scale and build a team. And that's what Damon did. And Damon showed me that. Also, he showed me new surplus. Now, we haven't, I had a new surplus opportunity, but the guy was like, you got to buy it if you want to see the label. And I was like, I'm not taking that risk. You just don't want my business.
Gotcha. Now, new surplus, I do want to touch on. There's nobody else that teaches new surplus. NAMAD is the only company
exactly
in the entire government space that is talking about it and that can teach people how to do it. And essentially, for those of you guys that are unfamiliar, I do have a YouTube video explaining it more in depth. However, the brief rundown of it is essentially the government buys too much because they buy based on forecasts. And I don't want to say too much, but they buy based on a forecast of what they're going to need. Sometimes they buy too much or they don't use all of it. So then they'll auction that back off to the public at a discounted rate. And there's more that goes into it. But then we teach you guys how to go after those companies or how to get in touch with those companies that get invited to these auctions, get quotes, interpret the material, make sure that it's good enough for the government to use, and then sell that stuff that the government sold to the public at a discounted rate back to the government at a market rate. So you're basically getting something from that the government already approved, so it's already good, right? You don't really have to do too much work in terms of validating, is this the approved source? Is this going to be acceptable? Because DLA already bought it, and then they'll sell it back to the public, and then we teach you guys how to sell it at the market rate and increase your margin. So we are the only people that teach that. So
that's true.
NAMYAD, we're giving guys the method on how to sell new surplus stuff. But Richard, do you have any kind of closing remarks? I'm glad that we were able to hit all the questions, kind of keep things short, and I'm guaranteeing that one, this is not going to be the first time or the
No,
last time that people are going to see you. And I'm sure I'd love to have you back on our channel. And he's also been on another video that I did with Eric Coffey where he came on as a panelist. But do you have any kind of closing remarks or anything that you're like, hey, if you can only take away one piece of information, or one thing, or one ideology, or one mentality that helped with your journey, what would it be?
Well, don't give up and enjoy the process. Like I tell people, like, when I first discovered it too, I was like everybody, I saw the pie in the sky and I was like, well, I'm gonna get millions and I'm gonna be, live this luxurious life. And that's when I found out the hard way. The government is not a get rich quick scheme. And don't get caught up, even when you see small companies saying, hey, I got a $5 million contract. They may have got a $5 million service-based contract and only profited a few thousand, depending on, how much their staffing costs and the material costs and travel and things like that. So trust the process, learn it, love it, and you're going to grow. You're going to earn it. And if you stay, this is one of the things. And Damon told me, he said, "Year sweet." Remember, you told me year sweet gets sweet. Year
Yeah.
three, year three, it gets sweet. And we're in year 3 right now. And man, I'm telling you, it's woo.
You
right.
guys got to stick it out. You gotta
Right.
stick it out. And it's a relationship game. A lot of people think it's business to government, right? But the government is run by people. People have feelings, they have emotions, we are relationship-based creatures. It is a relationship industry. It's not a government industry, it's a people industry. And relationships take time to build. And year 3 is typically where people start to get to closer to that $1 million mark. And the growth is exponential as well, right? The way that you grew from 1 to 2 is not the same amount of growth that you exhibited from year 2 to 3.
And yeah, and to touch on that, yeah, you're right about that, Dame. Like and some of the things, you told me, I don't know if you remember, you were like, they're gonna come to you like one time, they're like, hey, this is the price we want to pay. And I was like, that's been happening multiple times and negotiating, like, hey, take this price. And I'm like, we can counter at this price and just everything. And like you say, build relationships. So that's one of the things I wasn't good at first, like going to industry events or attending those trainings they give you, or those vendor, whether SDVOSB or whether you're 8A women on. Also, they're human beings. So now, we make sure we check on our contracting officers.
Yep.
We kind of keep,
Even when you don't have a contract
relationships.
pending with them, or you fulfilled one, reach out to them, ask them how their day is going,
Yeah.
ask them what they're getting up to. I tell the story all the time. I am entirely sure that I won a contract and it ended up being like a $70,000 contract because I talked to the guy prior to the contract just about life. He told me his daughter had a ballet recital. And then when I spoke to him a couple of weeks later, I asked him about his daughter's ballet recital, and he was completely taken aback by the fact that I remembered. And then that was kind of where the relationship kind of took off. And then he ended up being the contracting officer that awarded me a $70,000 contract. So
Yep.
really understanding that this is, a people business, right? These people they have,
Yep.
emotions on Saturday and Sunday. They like to watch football. They like to put their feet up. They have family members that, they like to spend time with. So kind of make your interactions with these people personalized. Don't just, send out generic emails all of the time. And picking up the phone, guys, please pick up the phone. We live in a world where everybody wants to text or send emails. Picking up the phone is the quickest way to stand out. And I distinctly remember I told you that, Richard, where I was like, if you want to, get good quotes from people, you got to pick up the phone. You got
Yes.
to, it helps you stand out from the crowd. So,
Yes.
really make your interactions with these
You
personalized.
you got to manifest the relationship with your suppliers and your vendors and your manufacturers and also your customer. You got to kind of build, bridge that gap, and that's really helped us. Like, because now we're personable, and sometimes I got a sense of humor, so some of them I've joked with and everything, and they love that. So just be people with it. And I should have known that from the beginning, like being in the military. I remember, I've worked around government people, and and then as a civilian contractor, worked around those same CORs and CTR. So I know it's the same thing. You just get them to like you, and they will help you. They can't cheat for you, but they can lean on you if they want.
They can lean on you. And people in the government do business with people that they know, that they trust, and that they like, guys. Those are the three things. So they got to know you, they got to trust you, and they got to like you. And a fourth one that a lot of people don't talk about is remember you. So
Yeah.
even making sure that you're reaching out to them if you don't have a contract, currently open with them, just reaching out and making sure that they're familiar with you. Picking up the phone and being like, hey, this is Richard from 305 Air Supplies, just checking in with you. They're gonna remember you more than they're gonna remember the person that just sent an email that one time. So really make sure that you're being memorable, you're being personable, and then you're also being conversational and just chopping it up with them.
Yep.
So I'm super super happy. I'm super excited to post it. There's a lot of gems in there. Richard's contact information is gonna be in the bio, and it's gonna be a pinned comment. So you guys are gonna be able to email him and reach out to him on LinkedIn. This guy scaled his company from 100K to 500K in less than a year after working with Namyad. So I'm obviously super, happy that we can say, we've got that kind of success story, but I'm also very happy that, Richard was able to take that and run with it. Again, it really takes a special kind of person to build a team and scale a company and really just stick it out. Being an entrepreneur is not always glamorous.
No, it's not.
It's
It's not.
not always, a smooth road. It's not, there's going to be days where you're going to be bidding and you're just like, shit, I have not won anything. Like I literally have
Yes.
been spending weeks in this and I haven't got even today, two lines aerospace today. Like we have months where it's like, it's kind of slow. Now, granted, more than 4.5 years into it, a slow month for us is, a couple $100,000, whereas back in the day, a slow month used to be $0. But if you stay in the fight long enough and you stick it out, then eventually you will get to that point. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, hustlers. Not only are we rooting for your success, but we're sure of it. You can reach out to me if you are looking for some educational plans or some guidance or some mentorship or coaching in the DLA space. And now you can also reach out to Richard and 305 Air Supplies for not just your coaching needs, but also your packaging needs. And then you can shoot me a DM on Instagram, ask me any questions. However, you must be following me for a response. And then please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Richard gave you guys so much free game in this video. And remember, once we get to 5K, I'm going to make a video showing you guys how to properly submit a bid in Dibs. And Richard, I don't think anybody, I mean, you tell me, is anybody like giving that
No,
sauce
no.
out?
That's all
And
I've been out.
has any like when we went over how to submit bids in Dibs, would you say that there was some stuff that we went over kind of in that, processing form that kind of helped you dial in the way that
Oh,
you submit
absolutely.
bids?
Absolutely, absolutely. The way we track them, making sure the information is correct. Yes, that was some sauce. So they definitely they. I'm telling you, they better get you while it's still cheap. Like I said, because I've been telling you, you got to raise those rates because just for what you showing me, and based on what other people that I've talked to, because I've actually had a client that was with one of somebody that's got a bigger YouTube channel, a bigger Instagram following, and she was really green, just to put that politely. And now she's winning. She's working with me, so I'm letting them know they better follow. They once the channel blows up, it's gonna be hard to get in touch with you. So yeah,
Get in
so,
now. We're like an IPO. We're like an initial public offering. Get in now
yes,
before the
before it goes
prices go
public.
up, because yesterday's price will not be today's price going
Absolutely.
forward. So, with that said, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and it was an absolute pleasure. And as always, we appreciate the support, guys.